Howdy, howdy, Chris here. In a previous video, we repaired and got this scratch ready for paint. Today, we're gonna paint it, clear it, do a tight blend on this door with some 30-minute clear. So we went ahead and we straightened a couple dents on the top of this door from the previous video, and we prepped out these two panels for paint. We did that using 600 grit sandpaper and machining sanding all of the large areas, and then we went around it by hand and sanded all the edges with a 600 grit scuff pad. I've went ahead and I've washed these two panels with wax and grease remover. This is going to remove any contaminants that were left on the panel. Now we'll go wipe over it with our tack rag, removing any particles of dust or anything of that nature. We want a nice clean surface when we start laying down our paint. The paint we'll be using today is the Nason XL. I find it has good coverage, it's reasonably priced, and you can purchase it at your local O'Reilly's. I am using the 3M Performance gun. I am using the 1.2 tip. Now, remember, we have a tight blend area here. We don't have a lot of room between that primer and the door. So the first thing we want to do is get that primer covered. Now, I'm not going to start out at the edge of that door. I'm starting at the edge of that primer and putting one coat on, and we're going to let it flash off, and then we'll put a second coat on. I'm not going to use sealer here, and the reason for that is because we have a tight area for our blend. So if we seal this, we're going to have material outside that repair area. It's going to be closer to the door, and it's going to be harder to get a good blend. Right now, we want as little color as possible outside that repair. If you notice, I'm being very careful not to let any overspray go to the right of that primered area. Now we have a couple good coats on these primered areas. We let it cure, made sure it was nice and dry, and now we're going to tack it off and remove any overspray that's went outside our repair area, especially on that rear door. I want to be very controlled with where my blend is and how much paint I put on this panel. At this point, we don't have total coverage on these primered areas. Now, I've covered the center of this door and the center of the rear door because that's got to be one consistent color on that transition. And I'm going over those primered areas once again, putting another coat on. We're doing it at an angle, making sure I cover and blend it into the door. I'm putting a heavy coat of paint on the first 3 to 4 inches of that front door, and then I'm lightly blending. You see how I'm turning my wrist out into the door? That gives me the blend that I need. You don't want to do that too much. You can get some sand piling if you're not careful and you're putting too many coats on your blend. So 1 or 2 coats and you're good for the blend on that front door. Now I'm going to lightly start the blend on the bottom of that door, just a couple coats. And then we're going to reduce this paint, and I'll show you how we'll blend the rest. Now that I've started the transition in the blend on the rear part of this door, I'm going to reduce my paint 15 to 20%, adding a little bit of reducer in there to thin it out, give it less pigment and less color. This is going to help when we do our final coat and transition on that rear blend on that door. So I'm blending out the front door, and then we'll move on to the rear door, and I'm just going to do one coat right out to the middle of my blend area, and then I'll turn my wrist towards the edge of that door, and that'll put enough color on the edge of that door to get a good transition and hopefully not change the color from the door edge to the cab corner. Now, you have to have a good color match in order to do a tight blend like this. So the first thing you want to do is check and make sure your color is easily blendable. On this repair, we are going to use the TranStar Select Flash Clear Coat. This is a 30-minute clear coat. It dries in 30 minutes. It can be cut and buffed after that. This is a 4-to-1 clear coat, so I'm mixing up 4 parts of clear and 1 part of activator. This was my first time using this 30-minute clear. And if you check the technical data sheet, you're to apply 1 double coat of clear and then you're done. I read the technical data sheet after I applied the clear, which was a mistake because I put 2 coats of clear coat just like any traditional clear. It did not affect it. It looked good. It came out nice. It dried perfectly. I was a little concerned with that, but always read your technical data sheet and make sure you're applying it the proper way. So we are using the 3M gun here today. I've got my fan pattern wide open. I've got my air pressure at 24 psi. You want to have consistent passes on your clear and overlap 70%. You want to have a consistent distance from the panel at all times. You notice when I'm clearing, I'm not stopping on the edge of that rear door. I'm going past it into the middle of that front door. This is so we don't have a large buildup of clear coat on the edge of the panels. If you're using this particular clear coat, what I found is it seems like it's a little bit thicker. So I like to bump up my air pressure just a little bit and dial my volume down just a little bit. And that helps it to atomize. Not putting as much material on. You want 2 thin coats and that'll give you the finish that you're looking for. This is the first speed clear or fast drying clear that I've ever used. I will be trying out some different brands in the future. But there's a lot of benefits to this kind of clear, especially if you're doing a home repair. You can actually repair something, paint your bumper, and put it on the same day and have it back on the road. And I know that's important if you're working on your own vehicle. So there are some great benefits to using this type of clear if you're doing a repair at home. This dries to the touch, and I think it's fingerprint free in like 15 minutes and dust free in like 10. So it's going to eliminate a lot of dust that might land in your clear coat if you're doing this at home, in your driveway, in your garage. We're going to finish up the clear coat here, and then we're going to cut and buff this, and I'm going to show you how it cuts and buffs and how the finished product looks. After 30 minutes, this stuff is dry to the touch, not leaving any fingerprints or any marks. So let's go ahead and cut and buff a small section here. It's pretty clean. It's got a little bit of dust in it. The texture is pretty good, but it has a little bit of texture. So we're going to cut and buff both these panels. So I just got some 2000 grit sandpaper. You can see that there. See, there's a little texture in it. Let's just put got some 3M rubbing compound on here. I'm just going to do this small spot. I'm going to take it nice and easy. Buff out. just because it is a quick dry clear. But I'm going to tell you right now, wow, it was very easy to buff out. I'm totally surprised. I don't see, usually I can see some kind of fine scratches where I'm going to need to go back over it. But I am really not seeing that right now. Now maybe in an hour or so, if as it continues to cure, some of those buffing scratches may show up, and I might need to go back over it. But I tell you what, it buffed out really nice. So let's go ahead and wet sand the rest of it. Let's check out the blend, color match, and the finished product. And I have to say, I'm pretty impressed with this TranStar 30-minute clear. It buffed out beautifully and gave a really nice finish. And look at that color match. It looks really good. We had a good color to start with, and we were able to blend it in that tight space. If you have any questions or want to just say howdy, leave them in the comments below. And if you appreciate this content and want to support the channel, check out the links in the description. For more information on how to repair your vehicle, check out one of these videos now. I appreciate each and every one of you watching. We'll see you next time on Garage Noise.